Here we are at the Fry House, and the dresser that I did for my granddaughter, this is her birthday party, and I am delivering it to her house. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you need any DIY or IOD products, please visit my website at thepaintedphotographer.com.
Here's the dresser as I found it in the thrift store. It has curves, it has some nice ornate look to it, and it was also $89.97, but I did get it for half off. I painted the entire dresser in letterpress gray using the DIY paint, and then my granddaughter is a purple girl, and so I went back with French millinery, and I just dry brushed in a lot of areas with the French millinery, trying to like have that two-tone look. Then I took this textured wallpaper that I'm so in love with, and I went ahead and I painted the French millinery onto the textured wallpaper and then used it as a stamp on top of the desk. And it didn't leave a full image. I used the IOD brayer to make sure that it had a good connection and pulled it up. And then I went ahead and I put just French millinery on top of the dresser, so a nice thick wet coat of the French millinery, and I took the textured wallpaper and I put it on top of that wet paint, which pulled back the French millinery to the letterpress gray, which gave another fun look. So I did the whole top of this dresser using both of those techniques. On the side of the dresser, I put a layer of the French millinery, a nice thick coat of French millinery on there, and then I had the wallpaper cut to the exact dimension of that side, and I put the wallpaper on top, brayered it on there, and then peeled it back off, which it left not a image that you can see, only you can feel it, and then if it's in the sunshine, you can also see it. So it has a neat look to it. After I was done with that, I went ahead with the letterpress gray and covered up those edges. And then I even went inside that side panel a little bit with the letterpress gray to kind of blend that paint back in there. Here's the French millinery again. I'm going to show you how I blended with the letterpress gray and made a nice blended look on the front of the desk. This requires 2 paintbrushes, one for each color. I went ahead and dipped into the French millinery and went kind of dry brushing on top of the letterpress gray that's already there and hitting a lot of the front of that drawer. Now, I only do one drawer at a time. I don't do too much of an area. I just concentrate on a small area, getting it how I want it, and using just one drawer is a good way to do that. So I went ahead and put on that French millinery. It's almost a solid coat, and it has the letterpress gray underneath. Then I wanted the edges to be more letterpress gray, so I came back in with that letterpress gray and kind of feathered it into the French millinery. The French millinery is still wet, so it's blending that color really, really well, and it gives a more smooth look. So just go back and forth on with your paintbrush. This is the other paintbrush. I switched brushes and went back and forth with that wet paint to blend those 2 colors together. I have so much fun playing with this textured wallpaper. If you would like a sample of it, you can order it on my website at thepaintedphotographer.com and I'll send you a small sample. I have 3 different styles. This one is paisley, and I'm just putting the letterpress gray on top of the desk and laying the paper down, brayering it so that it makes a good adhesion, and then pulling it back up. And I go every which way with my wallpaper. I do not stay the same way. And you can see I got a nice image right there. Now I'm going ahead and sealing it. Everything was dried overnight, and I'm going to seal in this DIY paint with the DIY Big Top. I put the Big Top into a special container, and I do not dip directly into the Big Top container, which helps to not contaminate it. So I use a very small amount and in a different jar. When I'm doing the desk on the desktop, I want to make sure that I have a nice smooth coat on the top. So I do some nice long strokes with that Big Top on there. When you're putting the first coat on, you can go every which way, but you are going to make some nice long strokes after you get it all on there. In between my coats of Big Top, I take press and seal and I wrap it around my paintbrush so my Big Top brush does not dry out. It keeps it nice and pliable and ready for your next use besides washing it in between. And I go ahead and take it out of the plastic wrap, and I can continue to put the layer of Big Top onto the sides of the desk. I put the Big Top onto the front drawer of this desk without taking the drawers out, making sure that I flip the handle up and get all of the different areas. You want to make sure that you're not going to seal your drawer shut. And then for my side drawers, it worked easier if I took my drawers out and Big Topped them separately versus with them in. So I went ahead and just Big Topped the edges of the drawers. And then after that was all done, then I went ahead and I Big Topped the face of the drawers. I used the Whispering Willow transfer for this desk. I wanted just this really bright flower pattern on the top of the desk. And so I made sure that it was in the center of the desk. I put a little piece of tape on it, flipped it up, and then brought that top sheet back down. That's how you can make sure that you keep it in that location. This transfer comes with a tool that you can go ahead and rub this transfer off. As long as you have that coat of Big Top on there, it's going to come off really easy. And you just rub on the top paper and it brings that transfer right off onto the desk. And it is amazing. You go ahead and burnish it with the transfer paper, making sure that it's stuck. IOD has these envelopes that they work really well for putting all of your extra transfers into it. This Whispering Willow has many, many pieces, and this envelope is sure perfect for it to fit. Some of them were too big, so I just cut them into smaller pieces and pushed them right into the envelope. Then what I did is I cut the back side of the paper into the size of the envelope, and I stuck that right on the back side. Then I also did the same with the front. I made sure that it was the right size, and I cut off the top piece of it, put it into the front, and now all of my pieces are safe in that IOD envelope, which you can find on my website. To make sure the top of the desk is nice and smooth, I took 220 grit sanding pad and went over the entire top of the desk, knocking down any bubbles that might have been there. And then I went back over it again with a coat of Big Top. And again, putting the Big Top on any which way when I get my first coat on there. But then after it is still wet, I go back in long strokes over the entire top of the desk. It was birthday party time, and I didn't get any pictures of the reaction of my granddaughter Melanie, but she was so excited. And here are some of the art pictures that her and her older sister have painted. And this is their bedroom of their new house. This is the view out their window. It's absolutely gorgeous. And of course, like all little girls, they have tons of toys, and these kids play. Here we're on our way home, and it was a great party. I thought that this view was spectacular for Wisconsin and thought you might enjoy seeing it. Thanks for watching, and if you would like any DIY or IOD products, head on over to thepaintedphotographer.com.